Zobe Sanje Riba Dan Shazun Demban Devarisha Jiden Jemba Jivon Deva Kano Jiva Lana Tata Nanje Demba Sanje Jemden Benjawa Shajan Tuba La Chazan Shado Yazuchi Demba Jemden Dendi Shensha Wan Dasha Mayana Zobe Sanje Riba Dan Shazun Demban Devarisha Jiden Jemba Jivon Deva Kano Jiva Lana Tata Nanje Demba Sanje Jemden Benjawa Shaja Tuba La Chazan Shado Yazuchi Demba Jemden Shensha Dasha Mayana Rivada Shazun Demban Devarisha Wan Jiden Jamba Jivon Kalo Jiva Lana Mevan Hada Menanje Demba Sanje Jumden Bejawa Shaja Tuba La Chazan Shodo Yazuchi Kanze Ganyen Zo Jadamazaya Sajan Dena Komande Nanen Jiden Dena Choje Son Deze Keba Jama Chahaza Nanda Gonga Shodo Susan Yishe Jazu Seye Chaban Jiden Sumna Lame Mahan Gombo Chonye Juma Chahaza Senjo Demba Chimenda Veshe Sendo Rawa Juma Chahaza Direja La Seva Sumaje Nyame Chenje Jama Chahaza Gombo Tuje Demba Tamje Jembe Demba Sonam Yune Yazu Dijin Jama Chahaza No Taben de Shachi Give Son Ledge Chedo Denam Shoyo Shinju Juma Chahaza Chune Treve Lamya de Laba Tala Rabdo Ne Shinga Tamba Yune Gendre Manya Chahaza Diwa Jenya Meja Jengawa Kunsun Soba Range Simne Tene Sanje Demba Yen Karma Rabi Mameda Yumase Chubrat Melon Loda Jenda Bon Dije Shalom Dedrata Sonam Die Tamjese Kovantam Ne Jenjen Dadu Gada Nada Shiva Lamchu Sive Solendo Wanjo Varesho
The teacher of the Blessed One, the one comes beyond, the Lord destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to the king, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shaka clan, I prostrate in your offerings and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one born beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to the king, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shaka clan, I prostrate and make offerings and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to the tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shaka clan, I prostrate and offerings and go for refuge. When the supreme of humans were born, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then I prostrate, with pure bodies, formed supremely pure, wisdom motion like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are not. The wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Teacher having all understanding, the field of merit and qualities like vast ocean. To you, the one gone to dustness, I prostrate. Purity which makes one free from passions, virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality. To that Dharma which pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community and tending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flammable lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream or flash of lightning or cloud. see conditioned things as such. Through these rare conditioned beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the full faults, and be delivered from motion of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje Jana Soje Jana Na Chanju Bando Dane Jansu Dagen Jenso Jebe Sonam Jen Dola Penje Sanje Sanje Jana Soje Jana Na Chanju Bando Dane Jansu Shen Dagen Jenso Jebe Sonam Dola Penje Sanje Jebe Sanje Jana Soje Jana Na Chanju Bando Dane Jansu Shen Dagen Jenso Jebe Sonam Jen Dola Penje Sanje Jebe Sho
I go for refuge until I mind to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I more quickly attain the state of Buddha, for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I mind to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha, for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I mind to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Tanje Jamala Sha Zamanda Sanje Jamde and the Shen Manda Zobe Sanje Ribada Shazun Damba Devari Sheban Jide Jamaji Kamo Jugo Hadam Menanje Dama Sanje Jamde Son, the Shen Shebat and Sonam Tavi Gutu. Gevezawa Namanchu Mezawa Subera Dwejaba Sonam Jeteren Peja Sapon Senam Jemedo Jeba Juyeremba Tona Medeba Tebemeba Nobragawa Sheriff Siju Medema Tona Mazewa Mep Simjetam Jeju Damba Chanju Semba Yap Pabia Kazana Jejevo Yangan and the Botonjo and Rova Tebe Ishebado Meba Boba Sanje Meja Sonambata Yanim Gujet Chomi Kusumba Meban the Batagama Soda Genjama Sumebata Dungana number to Wakumba and number to Kananda Medem Jason Namanta Dugana Shilja Yonso Dowanta Nabraja Sivala Juba Chuola Geba Yonso Deva Namajumba Tadaju Sanje Jumden Ishela Neva Yangela Devala Meneva Yanda Bandi Tala Simja Tamjela Sibe Sala Shuba the Dane Sanje Jumden Jokuchi and then Yanda Namasu Tabet Tomagi Tomagi Tensambo Central Madeva Yonso Taba Yonso Chawa Yanta Neme Tucheba Never demanded Toma Tenova Kebana Sozora and Ribachi Jumden de la Basu Chundu one on the bottom. Never Jomazo Chanju don't draw watch about Medema Major the bottom. Tema Yuba Tewashibeg and then leverage of Ribashu, temperature, temperature. Charge of a was on a vegetation, so George, but Jibenda Uno. Jibenda Zujuva Chembo Kage to the Yazuna Dawa Tonja, I mentioned that the Cotton Charles. So we are on the, I think, page 280. 281, okay.
Right.
So you have 281, I have 280. So who else does?
I'm trying.
Oh, it's just the top of 281.
Okay.
So that's why.
So maybe I'll just read the root text, which is on the 280. So here the main discussions. The since actions do not cease in an intrinsic manner, since, right? The since action do not cease in an intrinsic manner, they remain pertained even in the absence of foundation consciousness. So since means in the Prasangika school, things do not cease intrinsically because they do not exist intrinsically. Therefore, nothing ceases intrinsically. So that I think in Prasangika schools, so therefore, they remain pertained even in the absence of foundation consciousness.
Indeed, in some cases, the act themselves, the karmas, the karma themselves, may have long ceased, yet their effect will come about without fail. So this you should know. So now they're still discussing on this, what really bridges the action that committed in a long, long ago, and the action's been ceased for a long time, and how it is possible the effect, the manifest, maybe 300 lives, 500 lives afterwards. So what bridges this between these two? So the mind-only school comes with the idea, says the mind basis to all, or the foundation of consciousness, which holds the imprints, right? So it carries that, and then every life it goes, the mind basis of all goes to the next life, next life. So it has all, records, the imprints there. So the mind-only school, that's what they think. So even the actions are committed many, many years ago, many, many lives ago. So that's the, and then the Sutantaka school, what they think is, the continuity of the consciousness, the mental, the sixth mental consciousness, which is the continuing. So the continuity is the one of the carrier of all the imprints, the karma that is acted out and leave the imprints within the continued carriers. So in the Vaibhashika school thinks the attainment or the the statement, the bank loan statement, something registered. Yeah.
So does the Svatantrika and mind only, they're kind of similar, just that the mind only says foundational consciousness? Is it just like a term difference?
I think they have totally different idea. The mind only school, the mind only school, they talk about the eighth consciousness. Okay. The eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mental consciousness, and then mind basis all, and the consciousness, the grasping of the self of the person on the has a basis of the mind basis of all. So the eighth. So the mind basis of all's what they think is. It is always, the mind basis of always like within all the consciousness, that the mind basis of always remain always like inactive, but all aware of anything that when you see, mind basis of all has aware of that. Mm-hmm. So, so the mind basis of all is unlike the other consciousness, which is particularly, apprehending particular object. So the mind basis of all has no particular object to apprehend, to perceive. It's just like a coma person. So I mentioned sometime like, the queen of the ants. So, queen of the ants, they just stay in a nest, give birth, everything, just lying down. So the mind base is always like that, It carries all the imprints and just lying there, not active with any particular object. So that mind base is always, so always, goes to one life to another, one life to another. The every habituations, the mental, the perceptions, the emotions, the tendency of the anger, the attachments. So all, originate from that mind basis all. So this is the minority school things. That's the one that carries the seed of the karma. Although the karma is committed long, long ago, but seed is there within the mind basis all. So, and the Sutantic school says we don't really accept or agree on the mind basis all. We only accept the sixth consciousness, 5 sensory perceptions, and this mental consciousness, the sixth. So, but continuity of the consciousness, the continuum of that carries the seed of the karma. So now they all thinks that the Prasangic schools is it's a difference. Prasangic school. Prasangic school says you don't need the karma and its effects between the bridges like mind-based or the obtainment or any kind of statement of the bank loan or something. So, and why? Therefore, Prasangic schools, since the action do not cease intrinsically, actions they generate, produce dependently, it remain dependently, it cease dependently. So the cessation of the act has the potential to give rise to the result. So actions have done, the done of the actions, right? So that has the potential to give rise to the result. So when you look at why they really think, minority school thinks that it is required, that is between there some kind of bridges like mind basis all. So it looks like, they think the karma, that every functional things that is, once they actively engaging for a while and then cease to exist, the cessation of the actions is non-existent. It is not a thing, So because the minority school and Prasangic, the Sutantic school, they all agree the past, the future are non-existence. So only existing means the present. So this is what they think. So therefore, action that is committed in long, long ago cease to exist, therefore non-exist. Now that actions that you have committed, that cease to exist has no potential to bring any result in any time. So therefore, while you are committing the actions just before it ceases to exist, leave the seed within the continuum of consciousness or the mind basis form. So the Prasangic schools, it says that because of you think everything that arises, you think is intrinsic, intrinsic inherently exists, So when it ceases, become non-existence, then you need, you need something to, as a container that holds that seed, the records, right? So the reason is that since the action do not cease in intrinsic manners, so they remain potent, right? So even in the absence of foundational consciousness, without foundational consciousness, indeed, some cases, the act themselves may have long ceased, yet their effect will come about without fail. So that's the, now they're talking about which Prasangic school has to, they have to come up with ideas why the cessation of the thing, right? The cessation of the karma, cessation of the life, why this is the function of things, why this has potential to give rise to result. So and then it says, to demonstrate that this is the way in which Nagarjuna would respond, Chandrakirti cites following. So there's why has karma no arisings? Because it lacks intrinsic natures. So not intrinsically arising, right? And since it is unarisen, it does not corrode. I think we have to go to the meaning. So the meaning here is this, that because there is no intrinsically existing karmic act, there is no arising through its own being, so which means not intrinsically exist. Therefore, since it is not possible for the karmic act to cease intrinsically, so it is incorrect to hold that the cessation of the karmic act following its commission to have intrinsic existence and then think of its constituting the non-corrosions, although this reasoning is presented in the fundamental reasoning. So maybe so right now we just be, if you just looking through the languages, it's this saying like the what has born anything that is born from their own cause and conditions. So the cause and the condition produce as an impermanent. So the impermanence means the things from the beginning, once since it's born, it disintegrating. So the every disintegration moment is the cause of the end of end of its life. The table that first made from the carpenter, so the day is made, and that is to start disintegrating. So the every moment, every minute of that is the cause of the destruction of the table. So as I mentioned, according to the Chikala we says that every day human being breathe 20,600 times we breathe, right? So that each breath lead us to the end of the life. Because right, this much we are not infinite. So we are not breathing infinitely. So the finite. So finite means, maybe 100 lives, maybe 110 or 70 years. So it's all bringing towards the closer to the death by the each breath. So the death is the conditioned thing. So it's a condition by the life. Yeah, for me, it makes sense that saying the disintegration of any kind of thing is the function of things, but it's not easy to give you the so convincing that so the karma that ceased to exist conditionally, and then that is the reason that karma can give rise the result and we find in lives after. So it is not really convincing, but saying the death is the condition for the birth, right? So the death, without having died no one can born, right? Someone has born means his previous life must have died. So therefore he's born. He died and next life is born, right? So the death is the condition, is the connect to the futures. So the karma that you committed yesterday, you may forgot, or karma that you committed yesterday, and then the right after the karma has ceased to exist. But it, that cessation can give rise the result. So sometimes, you mentioned that the cessation is there, a potential within the cessation of the karma. So what triggers that potential to manifest the result? What facilitates the potential? So, like for example, so when you have committed the karma, karma of stealing, right? Stealing others' possessions. So that may cause some kind of, the problem in your wealth, right? If you have born in the God realms, and there is no one is, no one can, no God beings in the God realms bankrupt or have a problem of eating or problems in the wealth, financial problems. So this karma of stealing, when you're born in God realm, this cannot give rise to the result, in the God realms. So it has to be facilitated like human life or the animal life. So that facilitates the karma of that act of stealings. So in this way, if the karma has not yet, nothing really facilitated to give rise to the result, and it wait even for 500 lives. So then after the 500 lives, maybe some conditions that, brings the potential active. Then that cessation, the karma can give rise to result at the time. So this is what the Prasangika school thinks, that because the cessation is functional thing, So death, disintegration, cessation, all are functional things. So which means the Prasangika school, past is existence, future is existence, present is existence. Therefore, it's 3 times. So there are time, therefore they exist, right? So that's the kind of, the furthermore, the Chandrakirti cites the following from the sutra: the human lifespan is 100 years. One might say the human lives live up to that, but there is no real piling up of the years. So what is established to is like that. So what established to means, so you have lived up until 80 years old, So that living, being able to live up to the 80 years old and just living in 1 year, both are living in 1 years. The 80 years old, the 79 years is past. So he is not going to live 80 years, 80 years. Although he is 80 years old man, but he is not living in 80 years. So the life, the years not piling up. So what is established too is like that. Whether one speak of no exhaustions, one speak of no exhaustions, or one speak of the exhaustion of karma. In emptiness, there is no exhaustions. Exhaustions is taught in conventional terms. Now, when we talk about the liberations is, liberations through the exhaustion of karma and afflictions, right? So exhaustion of karma and afflictions, so liberate, right? A karma and the afflictive emotion end, and then the liberations, right? So now the exhaustion of the karma and afflictive emotions that exhaustion is the conventional, reality, relativities.
relative existence.
So here it says that in emptiness means liberation.
Yeah, when you read Heart Sutra, there is no aging and death. There is no extinction of the aging and the death. Ultimately, there is no aging, death, no even extinction of the aging and the death in Heart Sutra, right? So it's ultimately, there is no aging, there is no death, ultimately, right? Ultimately, there's no suffering, the end of the suffering. If the suffering is not ultimately exists, there is no ultimately end of the suffering, right? So you just, in the Heart Sutra, you remember the Heart Sutra, no aging, no death, no extinction of extinction of death. So no attainment, no non-attainments. So the exertions, is subjective. You can say the lamp, the death of the lamp through the exhaustion of oil on wick, right? Exhaustion of the wick in oil, cause the end of the lamp, right?
It almost sounds like, so that means like in liberation, there's no liberation.
Yeah. Once we can speak of the end of the karma, we can speak of end of karma and afflictions. But end of the karma and afflictions is how first we need to know what is the karma, how karma exists, how afflictive emotions exist. So afflictive emotions, like for example, how anger exists. Is anger exists in an object, or is anger exist? Anger exists in the nature of the consciousness. Anger is not in the nature of the consciousness, so it's advantageously, manifest. So anger is not in the nature of the consciousness, so therefore it's temporarily, so not in the object. So if the anger exists in the object may burst, right? So if you're angry with the computer, so that is your anger is existing on the computer, so maybe it will destroy the computer, right? So anger is not in the computer, not in the nature of the mind. So how anger exists? Anger exists with the emotionally negative projections. Anger can exist with negative projections. So again, is negative projection, is it the anger? No. So therefore, anger is relatively, conventionally. So not the projections, not the nature of the mind, not the object. So it is like, again, coming back to saying that, it is, we hypothesize there is the emotional called anger, which is not found in nature of the mind, not in the projections, not in the object, right? So it's existing of the anger is conventionally. I think, and also when we talk about the present, what is the present? A present minute, a present hour, a present day, present month, right? So the present minute. So present minute means because it is the present, therefore it endures for, for the durations, So then the question is, how minute enduring, so how long it endures. It's endured for 60 seconds. So now if the anger endure for the 60 seconds, so with seconds or within the seconds. So anger is, minute is not with the second.
the minute is not with the seconds, because there is no minute apart from the second itself. Right? So minute is not with the second, not within the second. So minute is, again we say minute is hypothesized, that existing of the minute is hypothesized, from the measuring of the seconds, 60 seconds as a minute. So again, coming back, the minute is, conceptually or relatively, or through the projections. Right. So it's all conventional like that. Conventional means, so if you really you try to pinpoint, if you're trying to get closer to it, there's no way you can pinpoint. It just, this is how we say it. This is how we say that's the anger, or that's the attachment, that's the pride, right? And then that's the pride, that's the anger. Which one? So, which is that thing, that very thing that you want to call it anger? There is no. Negative projections is projected by the misconception, right? So that is not the anger. So apart from that projection, there is no anger. Not in the object, right? But this is how we say it. This is how we conceive. So, so life is also like that. Long life or short life, whatever the life, is conceptually projected, based on the, based on the measuring the time of the life. So it is when we say end of the karma, the end of the afflictions, that is also conventional, because karma and afflictions are the conventional exist. So the exhaustion of the karma and afflictions is also conventional. It is not objectively exist. So which means, therefore, when you look in the Heart Sutras, so no aging, right? No aging and death, no extinction of the aging and the death. So which means objectively, there is no aging, there is no death. Subjectively, yes, exist. So I think, if you go a little bit more exercise, and the country, what is the countries? Where you can name the country, can you locate the country? The country is within the people, or within the land, or within the border, within the office, right? Or the politicians. So the country is, conceptually, it exists. A nation, a forest, a garden, a week, a month. So that this is what's saying here. Not intrinsically exists means the conventional realities always disappears when we examine, when you objectively analyze. So all disappears, shy away. So that's a conventional. So speak of the exhaustion, no exhaustions, or the speak of exhaustion of karma. In emptiness, there is no exhaustions. Objectively, ultimately, there's no exhaustions. So exhaustion is taught in the conventional terms. So that, what Buddha has actually taught the sentient beings, to attain the liberations, So what Buddha has taught, this ultimate nature. So to make the disciple to understand the ultimate truth, and then he go through talking about the karma, afflictions, impermanence, conditional sufferings. So the ultimate Buddha's teaching is that the absence of intrinsic nature, the emptiness. Right. So then, and there's one sutra, this Rahul, Buddha's son, and in the sutra, he says, there is no word or languages that Buddha has taught ever. So which means Buddha's teachings cannot be, so maybe language, the letters could point to the ultimate natures, but it cannot clearly, delineates the meaning of the emptiness.
Ineffable, right?
Yeah. So it can, like, for example, I can with my finger, I can point to the moon, right? So the finger is to direct you to see the moon, but most of the people, just look at the finger, so they don't look at the moon, right? So in this way, so the conventional are, is the tools, the instrument to introduce the ultimate truth. So this is the scriptural sources to demonstrate that there is no intrinsically existing exhaustions or the cessations, and that these two are presented from the standpoint of convention. In Naksu translations, we find the following rendering. So, Lama Tsongkapha's text, sometimes he, he pointed Naksu translations. So Naksu translations, so just as a heaping together of years does not exist. So what is the just as a heaping together of years does not exist. So heaping seconds is not right, together is not exist. So should you view ultimately this collection as well. So there is no person, there is no person in the within the basis. So only you can so when you want to see the persons, you can only see his body or his speech or his thoughts, his emotions. Other than that, apart from that, there is no person yet that you can see or hear. Right? So the heapings, there's a collection of those, bases. Each of them or the whole collections are not a person. So
Naksu is one of the translators.
So during that time, Naksu translations and the Buddhahood, the two great translators. The most translators we refer to Buddhahood, Sometimes Lama Tsongkapha finds Naksu translation as something, unique. So,
Geshe, really quick, what stands as this in the root text?
Which one?
It's not the root text.
In Chandrakirti. In Chandrakirti, it's not in Tsongkapha's. I was wondering what stanza we
Or Chandrakirti, the stanza, the
39.
huh?
639.
639.
think.
Yeah, 639. So. So yeah, so the main the root text is the since action do not cease in an intrinsic manner, like. And the Lama Tsongkapha, now he's trying to establish the constitute that the cessations of the thing or the disintegration of things are still in the Prasangika school. In the things, this is the conditional things, is not a non-existence. Yeah, sometimes some people will say, "Oh, yesterday was Saturday. Saturday is gone." So gone means some people interpret that, translate that, but Saturdays no longer exist. So that means Saturdays become non-existence, right? And some people think, "Oh, Saturday is past," right? Because of that Sunday manifest, that proves the past of the Saturday is not a non-existence, right? So when you have yogurt, or yesterday was milk, today is the milk, yogurt. So therefore, because it is the yogurt today, the past of the milk is not a non-existence, right? You born, your previous life is died, you born in this life. So because you have born, one who died in the past life is not a non-existence. Yeah, does it kind of, making sense to you? The past is, precisely, the past is not a non-existence. Yogurt exists. The past of the milk is not a non-existence. So if your milk become non-existent, milk has to be turned into non-existence, which means milk cannot be turned into yogurt. Right? If Saturday pass, and Saturday pass, the past of the Saturday become non-existent, and Saturday become turned into non-existence, and Saturday is not existent. Therefore, how can this two be Sunday?
So do they say that things that are non-existent cannot be functional? Like functional?
Yeah. So it's a non-existent means not. It's like a rabbit horn.
Right.
It's a rabbit horn. So you see, the Sonatica school thinks Saturday, today is Sunday, Saturday become non-existence because today is not a Saturday. Today is not a Saturday is the reason that trying to constitute Saturday turning into non-existence. So can you, again, the constitute that when you have the yogurt, can you prove the milk, right? Milk has turned into non-existence. When you have a barley sprout, can you say the barley seed has turned into non-existence? So I think that's really need to think, because many people think that death or distractions is they consider as non-existence. So the Prasangika school, the past is existence, the future is existence. So now existing is dependent, and then the way the future exists, what makes the future exist is the present. Right? What makes the future exist is the present. Again, the momentarily changing of the present is the indicator of the future exist. Right? So the existing manifestation of the present is the sign of existing of the past. So I think this really up to individual how you interpret that. So if you say the death is non-existence, past is non-existence, then you have to say anything has born or arisen from non-existent, right? Something non-exist and then something happened. So the things happening because from the non-existence. So that is also logically, it's not really making sense, right? So thing happened from non-existence. So then someday the rabbit horn will come,
I think it's helpful to think of ceased and non-existent as kind of two different things in a sense, because I think through language we just say, oh, it's not, like, doesn't exist, like, oh, somebody has passed away so they don't exist anymore. It's just it's just words that we use, but we don't think beyond that. But when in the text they break it down and say cease and then non-existent, and especially when you said that when something's non-existent it can't function, that kind of helps, I think, make a distinction that sometimes is taken for granted, maybe.
Yeah, so the cease means the identity that had once happened. Now that identity, the very identities, so which is going to be past, going to be past is no longer existing. So the identity that once happened in the past, which is not going to repeating again, that is not going to prove. Now it's become non-existence, right? When you are youth, now you turn into an adult. So can you say the youth was non-existence? Are you just become adult from the non-existence?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So the youth of yourself is not going to repeat again, right? Because it has passed. So, but the youth being past is not turning into non-existing. So the past, past of that, or disintegration of the ceased. So now Prasangika school specifically talking about that anything that is past is still a conditional things. So there is there's sometimes there's a difference that you can see, exhaustion of the karma and afflictions, or destructions of the karma and afflictions is the conditional things. The pacifications or eliminations of the karma and afflictive emotions. So it's language, from the language, it makes a little bit difference there. Exhaustions, it gives you the idea, is a condition. Now it was functioning and then it exhaust, right? So it's still continuing, and then ends. So the whole continuity is the cause of this most, the main end, or kind of the biggest end, biggest change. So now eliminations means you have removed the afflictive emotions within the mind. So that language is saying, now that is totally removed. Now that's the history of that is totally erased. So now that characteristics, you can also interpret that is the characteristic, and it is not a conditional things. So the Prasangika school says, because it ceased, afflictive emotions cease to exist or eliminate where? In the emptiness of the mind. So it's all about the emptiness of the mind. The emptiness, the afflictive emotions disappearing, and exhaust, cease to exist, abandon in emptiness is the cessation of the cessation of the afflictive emotions.
You all mean the same thing. Or are they different?
So the language creates a little bit difference. Where it empties is in ultimate nature. So that ultimate nature is not conditioned. Emptiness of the mind is not conditioned, right? It's from the beginning, it's empty. So for example, in my, I'm Tenzin Sherpa. When I died, the Tenzin Sherpa passed, he died, he passed away. So, and also Tenzin Sherpa also disappears, non-exists within the emptiness of his consciousness. So the two different things. Tenzin Sherpa totally disappears in emptiness of his mind. So that of the Tenzin Sherpa cease to exist or non-existing within the emptiness. Two different things. So one, he died is a condition, right? He lived, and then he died. He continues breathing, and he stopped breathing. That condition. Now he is, from the beginning, he never exists with emptiness. In emptiness, there is no Tenzin Sherpa. There is no Tenzin Sherpa, there's no Tenzin Sherpa's father, there's Tenzin Sherpa's mother in emptiness, right? So just as heaping together of the years does not exist, so should view ultimately this collection as well. This statement qualifies what is being negated, namely that things do not cease by virtue of an intrinsic nature. Now, whole, idea, the Prasangika school, the past is existing, death is conditional thing, past is conditional thing, is all, they says, because, it is, it's the exhaustion. It's the past means like Sunday, endure for 24 hours. Each hour passes, it brings closer to the end of the Sunday. So that the midnight, 12 o'clock, right after 12 o'clock, so Sunday ceased to exist. So that cessation, what brought Sunday to the pass of the midnight? From the morning, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and even 12 o'clock, all will bring you closer to the midnight of 12. Right? So therefore, the cessation of the Sunday becomes the condition. It's condition. So the pass of the Sunday is conditional thing. So therefore, and it is the condition and it is the time. Right. So and then discussing related issues arising from this. This has two parts: the wide absence of intrinsic existence in something that has ceased is reason to reject the foundational consciousness. Because the cessation of the karma is still functional things, has enough potential to give rise the result. So therefore, there is no need for the foundation of consciousness. So that is the reason to reject foundation consciousness. So number two, how a base for habitual propensity is presented despite the rejection of the foundation consciousness. So the Prasangika school, although there is no foundation consciousness or the mind basis all, but still habitual propensity is still presented, right? So then, question is, so what Prasangika school thinks that the propensity, the karma, or the seed of the karma, what carries? So the Prasangika school have to come up with the idea, because he reject all of them, So not the mind basis, or not the attainment. So then, what is the Prasangika schools? What they think, where the seed has remained. So why the absence of the intrinsic existence in something that has ceased is the reason to reject foundational consciousness. Question: there may be no intrinsic ceasing according to your own standpoint. So the question into the Prasangika school, but there are still the statement like, indeed, in some cases, the act themselves may have long ceased. The actions ceased and lacking intrinsic existence, and exhaustion is taught in conventional terms. So you have to admit that following its executions, the karmic act has ceased to exist, since being it ceased does not exist as conditioned things, and you do not accept the foundational consciousness. Now he is cautioning from his own projections. Everybody talks of their own projections, right? So this is the cessations is non-existence, but you don't believe the mind basis all. Now, so what brings that? What carries that seed of the karma? Following the execution of the karma ceases. So, or the like as the ground for the relationship between the karmic act and its effect. So then the objection still stands that it is untenable for effect to emerge when much time has elapsed, following the cessations of the karmic act. So your responses remain inadequate. Yeah, I think from the Sautrantika school, mindfulness school, when they look at Prasangika school and they listen to Prasangika school, say, oh, total nonsense, you're not making sense. The cessation means end of something. End of something means that is not exist. So you don't really think the non-existing can produce anything, and you also reject the mind basis of the foundational consciousness. So what base you think the seed, the karmic seed, can carry on for many, many lives? So that's a response remain inadequate. The Prasangika school reply, there is no such problem. The very reason stated in the line, since actions do not cease in intrinsic manners. So the root text, the since action do not cease in intrinsic manner. Establish that from the disintegration of the karmic act, which consists in the fact of the karmic act having ceased, karmic act which consists in the fact of the karmic act having ceased, and the subsequent effect originate. So because of this, Chandrakirti did not present any specific separate solutions. Chandrakirti says, I have said 1,000 times, you still don't understand. So I
I'd rather kick back and stay for. I'll let you think again. So that the key point here is this: for all the standpoint asserting things to exist through their intrinsic natures, being disintegrated, cannot be conditioned things. For the Madhyamika, however, which uphold no intrinsic existence, so being disintegrated is established as the conditioned things. According to the first standpoint that assert intrinsic existence, when the conditioned things such as sprout has disintegrated, all conditioned factors that are part of the sprout have become undone. And no other entity, say a vase, is obtained either in the aftermath of the disintegrations. So they maintain therefore, that this fact of the being disintegrated is in no way a conditioned things. This is because no aspect of the specific conditioned things can be identified with disintegrations, whether it is in individual sense base or the blue color or the composite things like vase. So which is made up its parts. Therefore, in their mind, the disintegration cannot be conditioned things. So Prasangika Sutta, they want to say is, in the negations, in the negative meaning or negative things. For example, no heat, no coal, no tables. So right. So those, because explicitly negating, so no heat, so explicitly negating the heat, right? No food, no drink. So then say, empty tables, that is also explicitly negating that anything on the table, but suggesting explicitly there's the table. So that is negation and affirmative negations. Affirming the table exists, at the same time negating anything on the table. So so then now he say the death means, the person, death of the person, where the person has died, explicitly negating the life of that person, and in suggesting it has conditioned. He died because such illness, right? He died or this something accident. So the death is conditioned, and the life, is no longer exist. So it's kind of still affirmative negations, implicit affirmative negation. So this is like the the fat man do not eat in the daytime. So so negating he is eating in the daytime, and it's also affirming he is big. So then the idea is implying that he must be eating in the nighttime. So negations, the affirmative negations,
and non-affirmative negations, two things. So the past is non-affirmative affirmative negations. The past, one who died, something has ceased, something exhausted. The lamp died because of the exhaustion of the oil. So the exhaustion of the oil is affirmative negation.
It is affirming that it was there.
Yeah, the exhaustion. Yeah, lamp died because of the exhaustion of the oils. Exhaustion of the oil or finishing the oil, right? So it's negating and suggesting affirmative.
So that type of person is affirming that the person's life was there.
No. It's negating the person's life is there. Negating. Negate the person's life.
What does it affirm?
Affirming it is a condition.
It is.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, Sunday's end means, so the end of the Sunday is the condition. Someone died is also a condition, right? It negates something. It's also, suggesting it is condition. So this is what the Prasangika school thinks is affirmative negation, the past. So the other school of thought they think is non-affirmative negation. Death is non-affirmative negations. Because it's not suggesting any table, any color, or orange color, or there's nothing, right? Death means, it's total, non-existence. So non-affirmative negations. The Prasangika school says, yes, it is affirmative negation.
I thought non-affirmative negation, can all non-affirmative negations also be used when, because I thought that was also the Prasangika's point of consequential, that you're not trying to affirm anything in its place. So it's non-affirmative to see the ultimate, but when you're speaking in terms of conventional, Prasangika says, yes, affirmative negation in that way.
Yeah, absence of intrinsic existence is non-affirmative.
Right. Okay.
So there is no further suggestion, just absence of intrinsic.
Okay.
So right. So Prasangika school, you say, no heat, no cold, absence of intrinsic existence, all are non-affirmative negations. So death is affirmative negations.
Okay.
The past is affirmative negations. Something that is completed, exhausted, is affirmative negation. So therefore, past is affirmative negation. So according to the second point that of Madhyamikas, that take for example, someone named Upagupta, none of their 5 aggregates Upagupta, whether individually or collectively or of a different nature from these can be said to be constitute Upagupta. And neither can Upagupta himself be identified with any of these 3. So aggregates, collectively or individually, or any other than, like form, sound, smell, taste, So yet there is no contradictions in saying that what is imputed as Upagupta on the basis of his aggregates is conditioned things in the same manner, in this case of the disintegration too, nothing within the conditioned things that has disintegrated and any other conditioned things that shares the same nature can be identified with it. So now the Prasangika school say, as I mentioned, the paths or the exhaustions are affirmative negations. So now the Siddhantika school, minor school, there is the, there's a kind of, there's open kind of that it opens for argument. So the Siddhantika school may say, so how can you say, when they say, oh, Saturday is ended, the end of the Saturday, right? It's end of the Saturday, you cannot have any day that left, from the Saturday. So you are not pointing in any day, there's nothing left. Saturday will ended, there's nothing left. So where you are pointing that you find is affirmative. Saturday end, I can understand it end, it negating that. So what has left? So nothing left. Oh, Saturday's table, or you're pointing at Saturday's table, or the Saturday's kind of any other like the colors. So nothing. You have no affirmative to suggesting this is the left of Saturday. So why do you say the end of the Saturday, past is affirmative negation? So now this is like yourself, myself, when I say, oh, I am Tenzin Sherpa, right? I am Tenzin Sherpa. So the Tenzin Sherpa, the name Tenzin Sherpa, pointing, referring to the persons. So which is 100% imposed, based on the collections of the 5 aggregates: the body, feeling, emotion, perceptions, thoughts, right? 5 aggregates. So none of those represent Tenzin Sherpa, So body is not Tenzin Sherpa, the feeling is not Tenzin Sherpa, and then the emotions, perceptions, even there is no Tenzin Sherpa in what he see, what he hear, what he tastes, what he feel. There is no Tenzin Sherpa at all. But so when you say my name is Tenzin Sherpa, so you have no, you have no place to ground that person on any affirmative things, but you still, accept Tenzin Sherpa is conceptually is impositional factors. So Prasangika school, trying to, set that example, then say in this way, when the Saturday ends, so although there is no anything left over as the residue of the Saturday, but because of Saturday ends means end is conditionally end. So that is the conditionally ending is the affirmative. So there is no need objectively, you can say, oh, this is the past of the Saturday, right? You don't find, for example, this life I have born, my previous life has died. So then say the past of the previous life, if the past of the previous life exists, and which base he exists. He cannot be, that of my previous life cannot exist in me, right? And between there is no any, within the time or event or any place that has exist. So therefore you say that does not exist. So the objectively is not groundable, but still is a conventionally. This is how we convince, how we conceive things, So, so similarly, we can always say like a forest is a singularity, right? A forest is a singular. So, what is that singular that exists? Where it's located? A forest. A forest located in one particular tree, or all on the ground, or the grasses, or the bottom of the mountain. Where the singular a forest that can locate it. So a forest is not locatable with each tree, so not on the ground, not in the grass, but collectively, the conceptually conceived a forest as a singular. Right? So Prasangik school may argue back to the Sotantic school, saying, so if you really want anything that identified has to be groundable within the basis, then you should show me a forest. I want to see that forest. I want to touch that forest. A forest is a singular. So a forest is that a tree is a wood, right? It's singular and it is wood, right? So then the way that wood is, grounded, which tree that has that including in that, a forest as a singular. If a forest is singular and it is the tree, then each tree goes to the one tree. So there must be a forest must be very, very big tree, because each tree can be, you can put in the forest, right? So although it's not locatable with each tree, so not on the ground, not in the grass, right? But it exists collectively, from the collective of the trees, right? So individuals are not a forest, collections are not a forest, but collectively, conceptually conceived as a forest, as a singular. So in this way, the person is conceived. In this way, you can, understand the past is the condition, although it is not objectively groundable. So I think this is, it's very in ordinary perceptions. We all understand that when someone heard that, oh, someone's died, and so how, right? We all say how he died, which means we already believe it has some, condition. Without any condition, how can person die, right? Or it's like credit card and expired. So, so the Prasangik schools kind of strongly, the trying to constitute the past is affirmative negation, and it is the condition. So once you constitute that the past, disintegration, the cessation of things, or death, are all a same meaning, essentially the same. It is the combination of condition and negation. So in the clear word, Chandrakirti presents the both sprout, both scriptural citations and the reason argument to prove this. The first referred to the statement in the 10 ground sutras. Now Lama Tsongkapha trying to, support that Prasangik school standpoint that the past is affirmative negations, because Lama Tsongkapha was saying that in the sutra, the Buddha himself, from himself, So, so this sutra is called 10th ground, the 10th ground sutra. Sachivedo, Sachivedo. Sutra says the condition by birth, aging, death come about. Conditioned by birth, aging, and the death come about. The death referred to the disintegrations, sentient being, and this sutra states that produce depends on the birth. And the same sutra also says, usually visit 12 and dependent originations, the birth and aging and the death. So, right, the birth is conditioning aging and the death. So death is conditioned by the birth. So the death, if the death is conditional thing, so the exhaustions of the karma, right, or the cessation of the karma, or cessation of the hour, cessation of the day, so all of them must be conditioned. So in the sutta, that dying performs two functions. So it makes death a cause. It makes death a cost event, and it's perpetuate ignorance. Yeah. So it causes, 12 links in the pendulum is a circle, a cycling, birth, aging, and the death, and ignorance. Ignorance and karma and name and form, consciousness, faculties, and the contact, feeling, craving, grasping, process of becoming, and then birth, and then aging and death. Again, going back to the ignorance. So perpetuate, right? Mm-hmm. So ignorance. So the death function too. Dying, here the dying and the death is two different things. Yeah. So dying is the process of the processing in the process of the death. The process of death. So that performed two. One, the death, it caused death, and it continues the ignorance. Yeah. So Lama Tsongkapha says that this sutra is suggesting that the death is the conditional thing. So disintegration of the things must be conditional, because the death is the conditional thing. So disintegration is produced by the cause. The disintegration thereby also has the capacity to produce the effect, although the disintegration referred to here is that of the continuum. The same is also true of has a momentary disintegrations, where the first movement disintegrate at the time of the second movement. So this sutra, the citation, also indicates how the first movement is the cause of its own disintegrations in the second movement. Like first second is the condition, the second is the condition in third seconds, right? So it's the arising of the first second has, arising of the first seconds makes the first second to be manifest, to be active, and it causes the next second, right? So the second, the arising, is the cause of the death of its own second, and that death is conditioned in the second second. So, the birth, aging, and death, and that death is cause for the ignorance. Out of ignorance, another karma. So continue the same is also true the momentum of the second disintegration. So therefore, whether there is the between the sentient being's birth and the death, or the between momentary phenomena is not persisting at the time of second moment and not having persisted at the time of second moment. Yeah, each seconds do not, endure for the next second. So 1 second has to cease in order for second to active, right? So they are entirely equal in whether they can be considered conditioned things and whether they are produced by other causes. In the view of this, the fundamental wisdom says things and non-thing are both conditioned phenomena. So thing and non-thing, things and their paths, things and their disintegrations, arising in its disintegrations, all the same meaning. So the both are the conditioned things. So now coming back to the point, so therefore Bodhisattva school says, paths must be conditional thing. If the path of the karma is conditional thing, you don't need the mind basis all, to continue to its effect. So because the past is continuous past until it's giving its result, complete. So once the results complete, the karma is become non-existing. Until then, the karma, although not exist as it is, but never dissipate. Right? So it will cease to exist once it's complete its effect. Yeah, any questions? I think whole point, in Chandrakirti is that they're all trying to, also prove that the past is not only it existing, it is the conditional thing. So I think you also have sometimes, you think, something has, the bad day was now gone, past. So then people think that now this is the good time. The bad day was gone, bad event was gone, sad was gone. So the death of that, the past of that, there is something, so when the bad day was gone, people celebrate, people kind of express the happiness, the bad day was gone. So, but still people have the, always cautious, maybe there's another bad day may come. So the one that bad day was gone is a condition. Is a condition, right? So the cessation of the bad day, cessation of the bad time.
Still conditional, so still having effect.
Now it's depending on the the things that has passed, because the thing with potential to give rise to the result and it pass means it's not dissipate yet, right? It's not dissipate yet. Now the thing that which has passed is also complete its effect. The result is no more coming from that cause. So, so although the past of that is a condition of things, but this cannot give rise any result. Right. So this is like, so I have, yesterday or the day before, a week before, I have leftover food in the refrigerator. Probably now is not edible yet. Yeah. So if until it's edible, how many days gone, but still it can give rise to the result, from your stomach. So if no longer is edible, so then, although part of that is conditional things, but it cannot give rise to the result. So, and also I mentioned randomly, for example, the man who has committed the negative karma to propel himself in hell realm, right? So within this life, if he attained the liberations, so what happened that karma that has a potential to propel you in the hell realm. So now that karma become, no potential. It's like a seed, it's seed on the fire pan. So you're just frying here, that no longer have the potential, because there's nothing can facilitate the path of that karma to give rise to the result, because no negative emotion to invite that karma. Yeah, any questions? Logan must have questions.
Well, I must have some questions. I asked plenty today.
So I think I've said, when we talk about the death of the lamp from the exhaustion of the oil and the wick, so that is, you see, it is a conditional thing, right? It is a conditional thing because there is exhaustion of the oil and the wick. The whole, the time of that wick and oils are the condition for the finally exhaustions. So the exhaustion of the death of the lamb has condition. So, and then we say, this arhat, it has exhausted his karma and afflictions. So now these questions, that exhaustions, does it really, suggesting or implying has the powers of that karma and affliction has a potential to give rise to the result or not?
If he doesn't have the afflicted emotions, you said, and
Yeah. So although it's every exhaustions, every pass of the conditioned thing, we hear the Prasangika school saying is a conditional thing, affirmative negation, right? Is a conditional thing. So we can understand the path of the Saturday can give rise to the result. Path of the karma can give rise to the result. Now the question is, every path of the karma can give rise to the result or not. So the arhat, ones who is liberated, so they also have the path of the karma. They also have the path of the afflictive emotion because they passes. So therefore, once they completely pass that, and they become the arhat. So the arhat has the path of the karma, the path of the afflictive emotions. So still, that path of the afflictive emotion and the karma cannot give rise any result because there is no condition that can facilitate that path to bring the result. So it's like a dried, path of the dried seed, the path of the rotten seed, right? Say seed has a rotten, it has no potential, but path of that seed is a functional thing, but it's not going to give rise the result of that seed.
Is habit the same as, I guess it kind of is with karma? Habit.
The habits, there's many things, habituations from the karma and the afflictions, habituations from your cultures, traditions, your beliefs. So the habituation of the afflictive emotions, then that's in the category of the obscuration of the knowledge. So it's the I would call stain of the afflictive emotions. So that and all the habituations not necessarily to be obscuration to the knowledge or the obscuration to the liberation. So the funny thing is sometimes the religion have, sometimes maybe you can say the religious habituations for the religions, or sometimes, so, very obvious, how to say, what do you call it? The strong believing in external protections, very much believing, and then you deal with that, protections, like a Bhagavan or the God, or, like in Tibetan religions, maybe say there is a protection, Mahakala or Mahakali or something, strong belief. And the way you deal with the protection is like almost like a businessman, So I give you this and you give me this. So otherwise, right? So that has because of the strong belief and almost like out of craving, you think I can get some benefit from you. So you can also bend down, to that protection, or you can also kick to the protections. Both you can do. That kind of habituations. You can easily bend down, kneel down, and pay homage. And you're also ready to destroy that because you have not convinced that existing of that. You just believe out of craving, out of attachment. So yeah, sometimes you can see in India, the very remote area, the villages. Sometimes people ride a bicycle in the night they fell. There's somewhere, and there's a tree. That he says, "Oh, there's something in this under that tree." So I fell not one time, 2 times, 3 times. So he was there to the village, and the village says, maybe there's some spirit in it. So they put, stone, and they, offer some kind of color on that stone. Now some people come here for the protection. And the one who's, first who started this kind of suspicions, he fell 3 times at that time under the tree. So he created that. So out of his, how's that? Unfortunate, he's suspicious there's something. And other comes, they think there is the one spirit. They can protect him. So if someone prove there is nothing, so they all come here, they're ready to destroy that state. It's not really, it's not a kind of the, respect from understanding. It's out of attachment, out of craving. You project that, protections. So there is a, 2 kind of readiness in you. One that you can bow to that. One you're ready to destroy it. Both. So if you're so much convinced that possibility of the buddhahood, and that is logically proving so convincing to you, so you can only pay homage. You never really, reject, and you never kind of say things disrespect. So that's kind of. So this is a kind of, I'm saying, the habituations, maybe they consider the religious habituation. And Ayadeva says, like people, do recitations, mantras, people doing the prostrations, offering incense, this is like, kind of what do you call it, the wages, employing, waiting for. So you do something for, for the, temporary paycheck, like you're paying homage to doing the recitations, or I may get some kind of the positive result for that reason. So there is no further, expectations. You have no liberations, no expectation of the enlightenment. You have no expectation to benefit the countless sentient beings, just for yourself, right? To be successful, to be healthy. So this is like almost like you're going, finding the job, and you just get paid, and then just for the pay. So what I'm saying, the habituations, these are the habituations from the culture, the traditions, the cultural traditions most like very much, relate to our emotional. So these the habituations are not afflictions, so not the obscuration to the knowledge, is the extra emotional. Or any questions? No questions? Alice and Julie have questions? So I think the point, Sothantika schools, Minor school, and Prasangika schools, something pass. Therefore, that become non-existence. So the Prasangika school, something pass. Therefore, this happened. Therefore, past is not a non-existence. So treaties, the farmers, put the seed in the soil. They know the seed in the soil and the waters, after months, maybe, seed has to be disintegrates in the soil. So that disintegration of the soil, the seed in the soil is, so the movement of the disintegration seed in the soil is the moment of the arising or erosion of the sprout. So, disintegration seed, the arising of the sprout, is like a two sides of the scale. One goes down and simultaneously the other goes up. So simultaneous function, right? So the disintegration is not the cause, the immediate cause for the first effect. The first effect and the disintegration happen simultaneously. Our death and next, next the birth of any kind of sentient being happens simultaneously. So just happened the death, and there's another life. So that life and died in the mother's womb, and another life happened. So the present is death is not a non-existence. And also is not an END, it's the AND. So something destroyed, something died, and something happened, right? Okay. Chanju semjo rinpoche majepa na dejoje, keba nyamba meba ya, kone kondo pewa. Tonye tawa rinpoche majepa na dejoje, keba nyamba meba, kone kondo pewa. Pama semjen tamje, dada tenjuj, ngendo tamje dado tongwanda, chanju semba kanda sushu. Dada kunje molong jubujuroje, kare rawe kurbi shimas, pendan dewa malun jungwe, jeren semwa tenzen jazi. May the precious holy mind not yet pulverized and grow. May that horn have no decline but increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet pulverized and grow. May that horn have no decline but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all the happiness, and may all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are Bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. O powerful Chandrakirti and Tenzin Gyatso, remain in this world until samsara ends. Thank you very much. Thank you.